Good evening, school board members, CCPS families, students, staff, and the Caroline community. I, Mr. Sean Kelly, the Vice Chair of the board, would like to call the November 3rd special called school board meeting to order. It is my privilege to welcome those attending in persons at Caroline Middle School as well as those viewing on our CCPS YouTube channel. Each provides an avenue for you to receive information, heightened education, awareness, and involvement. The school board is grateful for your attendance as we continue to move our school division in a forward direction as #OneCaroline. Again, welcome to the school board special session. And now I would like to ask the clerk of the board to call roll.
Mrs. Nancy Carson, representing the Mackinac District. Mr. Sean Kelly, representing the Madison District. Dr. Sarah Calverick, Superintendent of Schools. Mr. George Spalding, representing the Bowling Green District. Mr. Calvin Taylor, representing the Port Royal District. Absent tonight is Mr. John Copeland, representing the Western Caroline District. Dr. Jawanda Rollins-Fells will be residing in a few minutes. And I am Lisa Stevens, clerk of the board.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. At this time, I will accept a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
I heard a movement and a second. Ms. Stevens, would you please call? For the vote.
Mr. Spalding.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Mrs. Carson.
Aye.
Mr. Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll move forward with our proposed calendar adjustment as presented by Dr. Sarah Calverick.
Point of order, can we please pause and do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, ma'am. If everyone would please stand. I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Calverick. Dr. Calverick, you have the floor.
Good evening, Vice Chair Kelly and members of the board. I am presenting today's proposed calendar change on behalf of Dr. Monroe, who is currently gathered with the 23-24 Instructional Calendar Committee for their first meeting of the year. We are requesting the school board's consideration of altering Tuesday, November 8th from a staff work day to a staff closure/wellness day. This request has no impact upon students, families, or instructional hours, as it is currently a student holiday due to Election Day. Additional factors for consideration are the 22-23 calendar did not include a fall break for employees as in past years. Additionally, the VDOE is not providing a pandemic waiver for instructional time. As a result, we must protect instructional time and seat hours and therefore will not be evaluating the Monday and Tuesday of Thanksgiving week as calendar changes. Finally, while schools across the Commonwealth continue to recover academically and social-emotionally, select staff have submitted communication requesting the development of a wellness day. While CCPS will develop a coverage plan and compensation for those facility staff covering election sites, we believe the conversion of Election Day to a closure/wellness day will support employees' engagement in activities connected to an 8-dimension of wellness. Are there any questions at this time?
I have a quick question for you. Because this is listed under information, does this require a board action?
It does require action, yes, sir.
Okay. If that's the case, I would like to entertain a motion for someone to amend the agenda, because under the action item right now, I only see one other item. I don't see, would someone be willing to propose changing the agenda to have a vote for changing the calendar?
I would so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. So when we move on to action items, we will also take a vote for proposing a calendar adjustment. Oh, so we don't have the necessary formalities. Okay. So we can take a vote now, according to our board parliamentarian. Okay, well, I will entertain a motion for a proposed calendar adjustment then.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, can we please call for the vote?
Mr. Taylor,
Aye.
Mrs. Carson,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Mr. Spalding.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We will be sure to send a communication out this evening to staff as well as tomorrow in the Staff Insider.
Thank you, Dr. Calveric. You are still on the agenda for naming a school facility.
Yes, sir, I am. Good evening, Vice Chair Kelly and members of the board. On September 30th, 2022, Caroline County Public Schools received a naming school facility nomination for the Caroline High School track and field to be named the Sansbury Harvey Track and Field Complex. As required by policy FFA, any submitted nomination must be reviewed to ensure all criteria have been met. Once vetted for criteria compliance, the nomination proceeds through a time-bound process which will be outlined for you this evening. I will review the major components of policy FFA, share a nomination summary, highlight the associated timeline, provide an overview of the community survey results, and highlight the 5-person committee's recommendation and next steps. CCPS policy FFA permits community stakeholders to submit naming of school facility nominations each year during the month of September. Any submitted nomination is reviewed to ensure all criteria have been met for further consideration. CCPS received one nomination on September 30th, 2022, which met all submission criteria and was deemed eligible for the next phase of review. A specific timeline documented within policy FFA supports a fair and efficient process. Specifically, FFA states, it is the responsibility of the Caroline County Public School Board to determine the name of schools and school facilities in the division. The board will solicit and accept input from the public regarding the names of school and facilities, but reserves the right to make the final decision regarding the name of a school or school facility. All submissions will be made in writing only, using the nomination form for a naming school facility, which provides the appropriate biographical data, education, civic, or humanitarian contributions of the nominee, and the site location the nominator is requesting. Step 1. Nomination forms shall be accepted annually during the month of September. The completed form shall be submitted to the attention of the superintendent and received each year between September 1st and September 30th. Step 2. The superintendent designee has 10 business days to review the nomination form. Incomplete forms will be returned and will not be accepted for consideration. All nominators will be informed via letter of the review outcome at the end of the 10 business days. Accepted nominations will move forward to public comment for 2 weeks. This information will be shared on the district school websites in the form of an electronic survey. Step 3. Once the public comment period expires, the superintendent designee will work with naming facility committee comprised of at least 5 community representatives and division employees. The review committee will have 10 business days to evaluate public comment and make a recommendation to the superintendent. The superintendent shall place the request/recommendation on the school board agenda of a regular board meeting for discussion and consideration. The school board will make the final decision during closed session. A majority vote by the school board is required to approve the naming. Step 4. The decision will be announced publicly at the conclusion of closed session. A letter will be sent to the nominator within 5 business days of the meeting with notification of the school board's decision. Here is a brief summary of the September 30th nomination. Coach Sansbury Harvey has been the Caroline High School track and field coach for over 4 decades. Mr. Harvey joined the CCPS team in 1977 as a teacher. He taught physical education at CMS, taught behind the wheel at CHS, and was a guidance counselor at CHS. Mr. Harvey retired from CCPS in 2006, dedicating 39 years of his life to the educational betterment and well-being of the students of Caroline County. Although Mr. Harvey was a great educational icon at CCPS, he is more notably known for coaching track and field. He joined the coaching staff as an assistant to the late James Blanton in 1978. Coach Harvey was promoted to the head coach position in 1980 and is currently still in this position. As quoted by the nominee, Caroline High School's track and field program has been a dominant force in the Battlefield District for over 40 years. Here are a few statistics related to Coach Harvey. Head coach, CHS football. Coach Harvey is one of only 2 track coaches in Caroline's past 44-year history. He's led his teams to win over 15 district championships, has coached 8 state champions, ranging from his 1988 boys 4x100 state relay to most recently his 2016 girls state champion. Individual championships won exceeds over 100 winners. Within the community, Coach Harvey is an active and financial member of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, member of Mount Hope Baptist Church, where he serves as a trustee. Per policy FFA, the school board division began a 2-week community input period on this nomination beginning October 17th, 2022 through 5 p.m. on October 28th, 2022. The survey was circulated through multiple media outlets and received 1,292 responses. The survey asked respondents to indicate one's support of the Sansbury Harvey Track and Field Complex nomination. Of the 1,292 responders, 97.7% said yes, they support naming the track and field facility as Sansbury Harvey Track and Field Complex, while 2.3% said no, they would not be in support of this name. The survey also captured 253 comments that were provided to the committee for review. I will pause for a moment to allow you to read some of the various comments. To operationalize the review process, Policy FFA requires a 5-person committee consisting of community and employee members to gather to review survey data and make a recommendation to the superintendent for school board consideration. Thank you to the following committee members for their gift of time and commitment to confidentiality, process, and data usage. Mr. Robert Ferguson, community member, graduate, and parent. Mr. Paul Heiser, CCPS employee, athletic director. Mr. Kent Flippen, community member, former CHS coach and teacher. Ms. Pat Douglas, CCPS employee, current coach and teacher. And Mr. Christopher Caldwell, CCPS employee, parent and supervisor of facilities. The committee gathered on Thursday, November 3rd and participated in the following agenda: a welcome and introduction to the nominator's summary, a review of policy FFA, overview of survey data, a completion of a plus delta, observing the results, a completion of plus delta, making inferences from observations, identifying individual recommendations, and sharing those with the panel or with the committee members, making a vote, and then a review of this evening's school board presentation. As noted, each member participated in an individual plus delta review of the survey data, including observing positive and negative data trends, making inferences based on findings, and ultimately developing a recommendation based on these findings. These individual recommendations were shared among committee members, consensus building was used as necessary, and a motion was made and voted upon to finalize the committee's recommendation to the superintendent for school board consideration. After a thorough review and discussion of data findings, the committee recommends Caroline High School Track and Field be named the Sansbury Harvey Track and Field Facility at Caroline Stadium. Next steps include the board convening in closed session to discuss the committee's recommendation. Upon returning to open session, the board's decision will be publicly certified. CCPS will send out this evening a public announcement regarding the board's decision. Within 5 days, a formal business letter will be sent to the nominee. If the recommendation is approved, CCPS will then begin the planning of signage, cost, and a ribbon-cutting ceremony. At this time, I am happy to take any questions and certainly will provide you with accompanying documents in closed session.
Before we move on, I would like to transition over and please let the record show that Dr. Jawanda Rollins-Fells has assumed her rightful role as the chairperson of Caroline County Public Schools.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly, for your service, and please pardon my tardiness in traffic. So at this time, are there any questions for Dr. Calveric in regards to this matter? Hearing none, we will discuss it in closed session. Decision will be made and notification will be going public this evening.
Thank you.
The Caroline County School Board welcomes public comments during regular meetings and public hearings. Speakers may address an item on the board meeting agenda or an item not on the agenda during this time. All comments should address a matter related to Caroline County Public Schools, and it should not discuss an individual student-related or personnel matter. Each speaker may have up to 3 minutes. Once you see the red light on the traffic light at the end of the table, positioned in front of the clerk, please make your last statement. Once you come up to the lectern here, if you have not signed in with the clerk, please complete the appearance request form, state your name and your voting district. The school board expects that each speaker will be courteous, modeling for our students how one can respectfully disagree with others' views. Speakers will address their comments to the entire school board and should not address one individual school board member, nor the superintendent, a staff member, or others in the audience. At this time, the clerk will call those who have signed up prior to the meeting.
Coming forward will be Madrice Ham. And the subject is naming school facility.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Mr. Ham.
Good afternoon, Ms. Rollins-Fells, school board members. Madrice Ham, class of 1992, Caroline High School. One thing I really want to say is we need to get this man his flowers while I can still smell them. 42 years is a long time to dedicate yourself to a school district, to a sport. He's coach, mentor, football coach. 42 years is a mighty, mighty, mighty long time. He did it. 2006, as Dr. Calveric said, he retired from the school system, but he didn't lose the passion for coaching, and he's still doing it to this day. When I interviewed him to ask permission to do this, The first thing he said was, and he never calls me Madrice, he always says Maurice, which doesn't matter because I love Coach for being coach. He said, Maurice, I never did it for the accolades, personal accolades. It's always been for me about the kids. And that was enough for me. If you go over to the school, you look in the trophy case, Sainsbury Harvey's name is all over. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to get up here and speak. And hopefully we'll be having a ribbon cutting ceremony soon, naming our complex up there after Coach Harvey. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens' comments this evening? Hearing none, the citizens' comment period is now closed. At this time, I will entertain a motion to move into closed session.
Madam Chair, I move for closed session for the purposes of appointments, resignations, corrections, position changes, and requests for FMLA, compensation, naming a school facility discussion as authorized by Section 2.2-3711A, subsection 1 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended, personnel, finance discussions, naming a school facility, as I just said.
You gotta read the whole
There's
thing.
on there twice.
No, thank you so much.
That's that's a formal movement, by the way.
There is a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Spalding with the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Mr. Spalding,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Mrs. Carson,
Aye.
Mr. Taylor,
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells.
Aye, the motion carries. We will now go into closed session.